Hey everyone, Joe here from Action X. Welcome to Let Joe Talk, or welcome back if once again I have entertained you long enough to have you have. I can't speak English. I'm very tired, guys. It's been a very difficult time. Well, not just in the history of the world. I'm just saying in general because I'm currently wrapping up my final semester. I'm really at the close of the end, and I have been worried about finals and making sure that ends up well as my current job that still um, very much needs me to be there. So it's a lot to do, as well as my home life, as well as doing these videos. So I can get quite a bit tiring sometimes, and yeah. So I apologize again if I'm feeling a little bit off lately. I would love to do these videos more often. Turns in when I'm usually at my all time energy high, but just really scheduling wise, it just doesn't work. Maybe hopefully soon when I'm wrapped up with school. But anyway, this week I want to talk about looks and why do people usually judge people by looks. And this is going to be a very much of a multi-layer topic. It's not just in the romantic zone, but it's not just in the sociability zone. It's not just in the judging a book by its cover. It's multiple things where I feel like us as people, well, I don't say us like every single person is like this. I don't know everyone in the world, obviously, because there's over 7.5 billion people in the world. So, but who's keeping count? And you can't really know everyone. But the fact is that majority of us tend to judge people or tend to look at someone and already assume what they could be, regardless of not seeing their true self. I I say this because currently in where we're at right now in the world, it that's the thing that's very difficult to talk about this topic is because of well the racial factor and also whatever someone could certainly say it could very much be misconstrued as them being racist and sad to say is that still certain stigmas of that exist in this world. I'm not saying everyone has them, but I am saying some people do have those elements where they just look at a specific racial group or a specific group in general and they look at that and like assume the worst of them. Whereas for me, I tend to look the benefit of the doubt. I always go and meet everyone that I meet with, regardless if it's just a brief interaction or if it's just a it could potentially be one of my forever friends. It could be either on the spectrum, and I would always try to be as nice as I can. I tend not to look at them and assume that because they look a certain way they're gonna look like they're gonna be like a snooty person or they're gonna be like a very fun person. You never really know. You don't. I've met hundreds of people by this point in my life, and I'm only 22 years old. That's the thing you have to understand. I'm only 22 years old. I have met so many different types of people, and I have seen them, either become like one. Some of them, I look at them like they look like someone who could be horrible, and then they become some of my best friends in the world. And then there's some people I assume that, they're the nicest person, and then they turn out to be dicks. It happens, and that's why the phrase "don't judge a book by its cover" comes about, where you shouldn't judge someone just based on their looks alone, because again, you don't know what's going on inside their mind. You don't really know what's going on inside their brains, their actions. You don't really know until you get to know the person, and I feel like that's what's causing. I mean, again, at the end of the day, everyone is different. So I'm not saying that this episode is not meant to convince anyone. I'm just talking about the topic in general. I'm not trying to convince everyone to, okay, just don't judge a book by its cover, because there's just some people that just look at someone and like, okay, I just don't want to be friends with them. I don't want to be associated with them. Period. And to be fair, that's totally fine. There are people out there who are like that, and they're totally okay with never associating themselves with this one person because of the way they look or maybe just hearing stuff about them in general. It's totally fine. That's life. You can't really expect every single person you meet to be your friend. That's something I learned from my father about, I want to say around the start of high school, more the midterm of high school, where I was gaining a lot of more friends, or at least I was getting more friends. I was around more people compared to where I was in middle school, and I was happy. But my father told me that listen, not everyone around you is your friend. Not everyone around you is going to care about you. Not everyone around you is going to be there for you. Because even just based off looks alone, you might just have enough to say, okay, I'm just going to tolerate them for a while. And then the moment I'm able to split, I'm going to split. And I have seen actually people in my workplace that have been judged. And I won't say where my previous workplaces were. Maybe one day. I mean, there's a story about my McDonald's experience I would love to talk about on the podcast someday. But just in general, actually, that would be fun. Not fun, but it would be it'd be great to explain that. But actually, I'll delve into a bit of it right now. I'll save the full story for the podcast at some later point whenever we're able to start up season 2. But so when I was working at my job at McDonald's, that was my first official job. I call it unofficially because I just didn't make enough money. I didn't work there for very long, and I did not enjoy my experience. Again, I'll explain more someday about it more fully, but this isn't the show for that. So one of the facets and one of the factors of me eventually quitting my job and then going into my first real proper job was that the employees, the fellow employees, the managers just looked at me and they just saw a overweight Hispanic boy just fresh out of high school going into college, and they did not like me. They didn't get to know me, but I could tell from their attitudes, from their looks and glares and their tone of voice that these people did not like me. They did not, and I felt really bad because I was trying to make the best out of my first job experience. And again, I'll explain more about that in another time, but at least in that function, in that faction, I did not fit in. I was not accepted, and people just, like, every single employee would just look at me and they just shrug me off. Like, they would talk to me whenever there was something work related we had to talk about, but when it came to, like, there's a lull in the environment, there's a lull in our workplace, and we were not doing anything, they wouldn't be talking to me. They would be talking. And again, when I'm saying that, it could just be very well be, oh, they already have a pre-established connection to someone else. It makes sense for them to talk to them than to someone new. I get that. I totally understand that. But even when I asked them a question about the workplace, about the work, about where does this go, how do I get this, they would never give me an answer. They would always look at me and it's like, go figure it out, or go ask the manager, that sort of thing. And the manager would always be conveniently out or just somewhere else, and I would just be very much isolated. I would not fit in. Even when I went to go pick up my checks, there was a clear difference between the person in front of me who got their check and they were just treated with all due respect, laughs and all, and then when I went to go pick up my check, it was just very stern, bare bone. And then there would be times where my check would not be in there, and I would ask them, can you please look for it, and they would make it a task and a chore to not try and do it for me. They're like, oh, come back another time, or maybe just come back during your next shift, and maybe we'll have it for you ready. And that's the key thing. They said maybe. I knew they just looked at me and they just like, this guy is not going to fit in. He's not going to last long, and we're not going to bother trying to get to know him because what's the point? And that's a very harsh thing to say, but it's the truth. It really is the truth. And even years later in college, in my university time, which is, it's weird to say it like that because I'm still technically in university for a little bit while longer, but I've already considered that to be a near finished chapter in my life. But to kind of hone it in a little bit more, when I was in one of my classes, I had met this girl. I met this woman who was very nice, very respectful in the moment. However, the moment that we were not associating with each other anymore in class, and again, this could just be the university thing. It's just that she did not want to talk to me. She didn't want to keep being Instagram followers or that sort of thing. And whenever I do get to see her again on campus afterwards, there was a very stern vocal tone that she's just trying to get through this conversation in order to get away from me. And the thing about me is that and if you have been watching me or you're just a recent viewer, you can tell that I am probably a nice dude. I'm very nice when you get to know me. I'm very respectful. I'm a very weird person. with my friends because that's just who I am. I'm very loud at times, but I'm also very friendly and nice, and I'm always trying my best to make sure everyone in my friendship circle is happy, my family, and it can be very difficult at times given the circumstances of things. But I never let that discourage anything. Where even, and this is going to be, I'm not trying to discourage or ruin my father's opinion or I never talked about my father or my parents before on any of the shows, so because I just never really wanted to talk about my private life that much. But and yes, even though on the podcast George made the comment, you talk about your private life like it's nothing. Like my parents are just like a topic I haven't yet explored yet because it's just something that I don't know. Like I want to save that for the right avenue, but just in general, my father. Before I get to that, is hands down the best father in the world. He does everything for me, and I would not be able to be here today without him. But the point I'm trying to make is that my father does have a tendency to be very racially discriminative against certain groups. That he assumes that because they're them, that they're bad drivers or they're a certain way or a certain attitude. And regardless, I keep telling him like, no, not everyone is like that. He said, okay, yeah, you're right, but majority are like that. But that's something that even I'm discouraged to even agree with because like. No, because maybe the reason why they're acting that way is because everyone keeps treating them like that, so they eventually learn to accept the stigma and then adapt to it to the point where it doesn't affect them anymore. But then they become somewhat the person they're trying, they're being accused of. And that's kind of the weird thing. Is like, regardless how we grow up in our childhoods, is that we were always taught to be respectful to others, to always treat each other with respect. But somewhere along the line, we just lose a good function of that. At least, I mean, for me, I've only been rude to like maybe a couple people. I can't really name people off my top of my head, but I can name a few people that I very much did not want to be associated with because of the way they look, and that's the truth. I can freely admit that because the thing is here at on Let Joe Talk is that it's my show. I'm putting my opinion in. It's very biased, but even when I talk about certain aspects of it, I'm still very honest. I'm still very open with my viewers and the people who are watching my content. I'm never lying to anyone. I'm always trying to be as open as I can with people because that's what people deserve, honesty. And I don't want to be hiding behind a facade just to gain viewership or just to say, "Oh, I'm cool and I'm doing this." Like, no, I'm never trying to do that. I never am. And so yeah, to get back to my point is that yeah, I have treated people because they looked a certain way, and then most of the times it does like their actions and their certain characteristics about them kind of does prove my point. So at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I'm right. This is how they am, so I'm just not going to bother associating with them. But then there are some points where no, they're not like that. They're more different than when you think, but you don't give them the chance to be able to prove themselves. And when I was, and this is still weird for me to say, I still don't think I'm out of the woods yet, but when I was more overweight than before, I was very much, looked at and then very much, written off, so to speak, where they just looked at me as like a majority of men just don't treat me with respect, and then females would just look at me as like, okay, he's just, at the end of the day, maybe I'll talk to him just to make him feel better, but then I'll just let him go by the time it's done. It does happen. I've seen things about that. And again, at the end of the day, I'm telling my side of the story, and maybe they have a completely different side of things, or maybe they'll just lie to me and say something else. I really don't know. And at this point in my life, I don't really care. I have my friends, I have the people I truly care about, and I'm going to just be with them. If I do find someone else along the way that fits with that moral, with that scheme, with that way of life, then that's great. But I'm not going out there to make a lot of friends. That's not me, because I always like to give each of my friends as much TLC as I can. But if I'm spread anyway, that's kind of another topic for another day. Not this time, not this go around. But it just still like, and again, I'm not even discouraged. I'm not even excluding myself from this group. Is that I still don't get why people just write people off just by the way they look. I do believe, I said this before, that everyone has a story. Everyone wants to tell their story to someone that they want to be friends with or be close to. But when it comes to actually, getting to that point, the other person usually just writes them off by that point where it's like, okay, I'm done. But again, at the end of the day, it has to be understood that both sides have to mutually agree to be part of any sort of connection, whether that is a friendship, whether that is a workplace acquaintanceship, or a relationship, or a marriage, or something like that. Both parties have to agree mutually for it to work. Because if one side is doing all the work, it's just not going to work out. It just really isn't. And when it comes to more of the aspect of trying to understand someone, just looking past their look. You can't just look at everyone and just assume like, okay, that person over there, that's going to be my friend, or that's going to be my girlfriend, or my boyfriend, or whatever roles, or whatever you want them to be. I feel like everyone should give another person the benefit of the doubt. But again, I do believe actions speak louder than words or appearance, in my opinion. So how they react, how they do things should be the defining factor of them, not just based on what they look like or how they dress. Because even years ago, like I looked the worst I've ever been, but thankfully there was a couple people that managed to give me the benefit of the doubt. They heard me out, and then at least one of them still one of my very good friends to this day. And I accept him and I love him because he saw past all the discriminating, all the the things that people would be running away from. And I'm not trying to say actually I would call myself ugly. I feel like people are usually like very open about their past appearances, and I'm willing to say that yeah, my past appearances did not look very good. So I could understand why people were like trying to get away the moment they could, and I completely understand that. I really do. It's just that I feel like people should, like, especially as as new generations come up and they get taught new different things, because I have no idea what younger generations are being taught of in school. I really don't know. Like I don't even have anyone I know currently in that system, which is fine because I'm grown up now. Like it's still weird to say I'm 22, going to be 23 this October, which is, oh man, it's flipping crazy. But I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot of things in my time period, and it still baffles me that this is still a problem going on. And again, I'm not trying to exclude myself from the equation because I'm still very much a component to the issue itself. I'm admitting I could do better. I could very much stop being that way discriminately, where and I'm saying this as myself, I look at a Hispanic and it's going to be like, oh, they're going to ask me a question in Spanish, or they're going to probably ask me something because they're lost. And it's not even like a big insult against them. It's just like my normal reaction to those types of people. And most of the time I'm right. They're just asking me a question, or I'm going to speak the very basic Spanish I have and then get along with my life. And that's what I do. And, I always treat them with courtesy and respect. And I knew that they're not going to be part of my lives. They're just asking me a question and they're going to move on to their thing. And that's fine. That's totally fine. I'm not going to really harper much on it, but it just baffled me how some people like these types of negative experiences people get is really affecting them in the way. Because again, there was periods in my life where I was just constantly being rejected, not just romantically, but just rejected in terms of being friends or romantically speaking or professionally. And it just wears you down. It really affects your psyche, and it really starts to affect you because all you're trying to do is just get this thing and you want to prove yourself, but when it comes to getting to the proving part, you're already being written off. It sucks. It really does suck to be getting that. And for me personally, not professionally speaking, but like when it comes to like someone approaching me or talking to me as like maybe friendly, I'll do my best to respond as a respectful manner, but it's going to take some time. Like I always give people the benefit of the doubt and benefit of the time to prove themselves to me. But if they're not proving to me by a certain time threshold that like, okay, you're a good person or you're someone I could trust, then I'm not gonna keep talking to you. I'm like, hey, listen, you had your chance to prove to me, which I feel like again, people should give everyone the chance to prove themselves, to prove who they are as a person, and tell them this is who I am, not what I look like is not who I am. What I'm doing is what I am, if you understand my very confusing lingo. And again, this is not an issue. This is not really a big thing I'm trying to harp on or trying to like make this like we need to find a solution to this, because like there have been arguments throughout history that there have been people who have been discriminated before in the racial sphere. Now it's just everyone in general based on looks and based on like certain maybe quick actions that you do. And like one time I burped in my I think it was my high school class. No, I don't know. I burped one time, and then a lot of people just stopped talking to me for a while because they just assumed that I was a disgusting person, but I wasn't. I just had to burp. That was really it. It didn't really affect me in the end because like I still had my friends, so I didn't really care about like, oh no, well those people can go screw themselves. I didn't really care, so I didn't really harp on it too much. But then there's some people who are trying to make new friends. They're trying to get along with someone, and then that sort of thing happens, and then they're really stuck. They're isolated, and they really can grow as a human being because they need someone else to kind of like guide them and kind of like grow with them, if you know what I mean. So, just to kind of get to the gist of it, get to the point of it, I don't really think looks anymore should be a factor because I have met people, like even recently I met someone who was very much like, I think if I was to have met this person like maybe 7 years ago, I would have written them off, and I would have been like, oh, if I do not want to get involved with this person, I don't want to get involved with them. I don't want to even talk to them. But given how I am now, I'm always a friendly guy. I'm trying to like, be open to anything, because you never really know. You never know who your next best friend you're going to be. Who never know when your wife or your husband's going to be at. You never really know. You just have to keep those opportunities open, and maybe if the time is right, it'll come up. And I'm like, you know what? This person is speaking through their actions about who they are. I responded to that, and right now we're doing fine. It's still very early on in our, and I'm gonna call it a friendship, and hopefully it'll grow, and I'll get to know them as they will communicate to me who they are as a person, and that's how things should be. And I do feel sorry for the people who are still going through this, who are still struggling to make another human connection because they can't really find the right people to look past their look. And not to say, again, not everyone's like that, but it's just something that's not becoming, but like that has always existed, and it just becomes difficult because like usually your luck would prohibit you from meeting those people. But it's the journey of finding those right people and then being more appreciative of having those people in your life. And at least for me, I'm going to try my damn best to 100% be not judgmental, not to base people on their looks. If someone wants to come up to me because of that, then I will respect that.
What do you do?
Three, two, one. And so, yeah, that's what I'm gonna try and be better about it. I'm gonna try and be more open to things, more so than now. I feel like everyone could improve. I feel like even in my generation, we're all very much still growing as people. But I still think even my dad's generation could still grow and stuff with that that certain lens, and just take off the lens and just see what happens. And it's difficult because everyone is different. Everyone has already their own experiences, and this isn't a thing that's going to go away overnight. I'm definitely not trying to harp on that. I'm just trying to make a point of it and trying to speak my mind on it, and hopefully you'll have your own thoughts to say about it. So please, in the comments below, have you dealt with that sort of things about being looked at and then, being judged by your looks and then being written off? Let me know. Or have you proven differently and, you tried your best? I want to hear your story. I want to hear those things in the comments. I'm always open to conversations in the comments. And yeah. So I think that's going to do it for me, guys. So if you were unaware, or if you were kind of zoning off, like kind of I was in the last few minutes of it because I was cutting in and out. This was Let Joe Talk from Action X. If you want to see more of Let Joe Talk from Action X, we are always posting new episodes on Wednesdays. Hopefully, my last one got a little bit delayed because of my camera having issues, but hopefully we're back on schedule. Hopefully, I'm not really sure. I can't see into the future. And I will always post many other videos on the channel. We also do What's on the Tube. We are doing Pod XT's Greatest Hits. And we also do, this show on DVD unboxings. So if you want to see more of that, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to, like, favorite, share this video. If you want to, anything helps out, guys. It really helps us get out there. Follow us on our social media feeds and ring the bell for notification when we have the next Let Joe Talk live. And I'll see you guys next week, next Wednesday on our usual time slot, hopefully. So stay safe out there, everyone. Be good to each other, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.